Bram Stoker's Dracula, first published in 1897, has cemented the vampire count as one of the most iconic and enduring figures in literature and pop culture. The brooding, seductive Transylvanian nobleman has captured the public's imagination for over a century, evolving from Stoker's original portrayal to become a symbol of both horror and allure. The character's journey from page to screen began in the 1930s with Bela Lugosi's unforgettable performance in the 1931 film adaptation. Lugosi's Dracula, with his piercing stare and aristocratic bearing, established many of the tropes that would become synonymous with the character. The high-collared cape, the slick back hair, the cultured yet chilling demeanor. Lugosi's portrayal set the template for future interpretations, influencing generations of actors who would don the fangs and assume the mantle of the legendary vampire. Bela Lugosi is amazing. And he's portrayed in Ed Wood in such an amazing way. And I love watching Ed Wood and then watching Dracula and then watching Plan 9 from Outer Space. Even though, of course, I am a huge fan of Coppola's Dracula. I mean, Gary Oldman. He's just so good. And Martin Landau played Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood. He got an Oscar for it. Tim Burton directed it. Johnny Depp plays Ed Wood. And he's a really great character. You see, Bella, I like to dress in women's underwear. Just ridiculously fun character. I'm sure I butchered right there. Dracula's cinematic incarnations would evolve, reflecting the changing tastes and sensibilities of each era. The 1958 Hammer Films production starring Christopher Lee, Count Dooku, Saruman. If you haven't listened to Christopher Lee's metal album, go do that. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing. You know what? Even if you're not, go treat yourself to some Christopher Lee kind of dark rap singing, reminiscent of that painting in Ghostbusters 2. The 1958 Hammer Films production starring Christopher Lee brought a new level of gothic sensuality to the role, with Lee's Dracula exuding a brooding, animalistic sexuality that captivated audiences. Lee's Dracula was a far cry from Lugosi's urbane sophisticate, embodying a primal predatory quality that made the character all the more alluring and terrifying. The 1982 film adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Oh my God, I have touched the outfit, the red suit. And, go to Coppola's winery and you can see all of his awesomeness. Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Gary Oldman, further cemented the vampire lord's status as a figure of both horror and seduction. Oldman's Dracula was a complex, multifaceted portrayal, blending the character's aristocratic elegance with a raw, animalistic intensity. The film's lush, visually stunning aesthetic, coupled with Oldman's performance, elevated Dracula to new heights of gothic grandeur and sensuality. Beyond the silver screen, when Dracula came out, you would ubiquitously, it is ubiquitous, you'd hear it everywhere. And I never get tired of hearing it. Especially that one. But you would hear everywhere you went. in my circles in the mid-90s. I have crossed oceans of time to be with you. Beyond the silver screen, Dracula's cultural impact has extended into countless other mediums, from comic books to board games, and it all began with the book by Bram Stoker. The novel of Dracula by Bram Stoker, this seminal work of horror fiction, has had an immense and lasting impact on popular culture since its publication in 1897. Stoker's Dracula tells the story of the eponymous Transylvanian vampire count and his attempts to expand his undead domain to England. The novel is narrated through a series of diary entries, letters, and newspaper clippings, chronicling Dracula's sinister machinations and the efforts of a group of protagonists, including the solicitor, Jonathan Harker, the psychiatrist, Dr. Seward, and the vampire hunter, Van Helsing, to stop the Count's nefarious plans. At the heart of the novel is the captivating figure of Count Dracula himself. Stoker's portrayal of the vampire lord was a departure from traditional folkloric depictions, imbuing the character with a sense of aristocratic refinement and cultured sophistication that belied his monstrous nature. Dracula's seductive powers, his ability to transform into a bat or swarm of rats, and his insatiable thirst for blood all contributed to the character's enduring legacy as a symbol of both horror and desire. The novel's impact was immediate and far-reaching, captivating readers with its atmospheric Gothic setting, the cast of memorable characters, and the exploration of themselves, such as the duality of human nature, the corrupting influence of power, and the struggle between good and evil. Dracula's journey from the Carpathian Mountains to the bustling streets of London resonated with audiences, tapping into deep-seated fears and anxieties about the unknown and the other. As the 20th century dawned, Stoker's Dracula began to take on a new life on the stage and the silver screen. The character's cinematic incarnations, from Bela Lugosi's iconic portrayal in the 1931 film to Christopher Lee's brooding, sensual interpretation in the Hammer horror productions. All of these ingredients, plus dressing up as Dracula, putting in the fangs, the comedy of what you do in the shadows, or even Interview with Vampires has its comical moments. All of these vampiric fanaticism, this idea of living forever and biting into the blood and drinking the life of someone else to stay alive. It's obviously disgusting and but also sexy and so supernatural that it makes no sense to our waking, regular lives. And that is why we keep returning to Dracula. That is why it's so unpopular. To this day, Bram Stoker's Dracula continues to captivate and inspire legacies of people. With the Vampire Lord's legacy extending far beyond the pages of the original novel, as if it's somehow in our blood now.